Hello again, YouTube. This is Lovell Hall's prior enlisted Marine, somebody who happens to do a lot of research with a handful of questions. I was going to save this particular one for sometime next week. Well, the events of the Supreme Court nominations and the NCAA swimming has persuaded me to up the timetables on one of my videos. This one's probably going to be released on the same day as, well, the video I've already released today. Today is Friday. And it's just because if I let it wait, it's gonna lose some relevance here. Well, the question is, why can't some people define what a woman is? Well, that harkens back to two separate events. First, a Supreme Court nominee was asked, can she define what a woman is? And she said, I cannot. And the other event was an NCAA swimming event that was women's swimming, where a transgender male to female was involved in the swimming event. And actually, in one segment of the event, actually finished dominantly in first, raising questions as to whether or not that individual should have been involved in the swimming meet at all. Well, when it comes to that particular event, the Supreme Court Justice nominee, she was after being asked that is because was asked why, because she said that she's not a biologist, and a similar or a similar statement was made in some of the videos of the NCAA swimming meet. Well, I like what one person quit back with. I'm not a veterinarian, but I can still recognize what a dog is. And I thought that was brilliant. Quite clever, even. Well, and then soon thereafter, the same Supreme Court nominee was asked what Roe v. Wade was. And she defined it as the case that defines the rights of a woman as to whether or not she has the right to have an abortion. Well, how can you say that if you can't define what a woman is? It sounds to me like you're so confused that you might need to take a moment to go back and look at things before you can come back and be a Supreme Court nominee. You don't have to be a biologist to understand basic terminology. You don't have to be a veterinarian to recognize a dog. You know, it's like, and you don't have to be a rifleman to recognize a rifle. You don't have to be a realtor to recognize a house. And it's like, okay, this one's going to be a little more combative than I usually prefer to do. But when your partisanship gets in the way of your good sense, it brings into question whether or not you have sense at all. And this is going to be one of my more fired up videos because of the fact that it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. If I see something that's black, furry, on four legs, and goes woof woof, oh, it's a dog. If I see someone with curves in appropriate places, longer hair, and is wearing a skirt, I'm going to go, okay, that's probably a woman. And that it goes back to a lot of the things that where a lot of problems are created by politicians, and then they go, oh, there's no simple solution to it. Oh, no, yes, there is. You caused it. There is no good sense. Oh, I can't fix gas prices. It's Vladimir Putin's fault. Wrong. You caused it. Oh, I can't do anything to fix inflation. Yes, you can. You caused it. I can't do anything to stop Russia from invading Ukraine. Yes, you can. You empowered him. It's kind of like that whole business before Obama ended up out of office. He's like, what's he gonna do? Wave a magic wand? He doesn't take a magic wand unless it happens to be that you think common sense is freaking magical. Come on, you don't have to use your imagination in order to figure this crap out. Higher oil prices help Russia. Higher oil prices cause inflation. Higher oil prices cause higher gas prices. Not being able to define what a frickin' woman is causes confused Supreme Court justices. Cause what was a biological male kicking the crap out of a whole bunch of women in a sport that is a woman's event. Now, if you want to create a specific category for transgender male to females where they can compete amongst themselves, fine. And I'm also going to point out something about this as well. When it came to transgender female to male, the female to male is still allowed to compete with women. Doesn't have to compete with men. But the male to female competes with the women. Does not compute. It goes back to why can't we define what a woman is? And I'm sorry, biologist or not, you can't show me any evidence that changes one piece of evidence that does not change the definition of whether you were born male or female. If you were born a human male, you have an XY chromosome. If you were born female, you were born with an XX chromosome. And for about 99% of all human beings, that is the definition that works for everybody. And with that being said, what's the remaining 1%? That's something like an XYY, a hypermale. And you can look at the inconsistencies, the anomalies amongst it. And okay, as I recall, there's only about 4 of those from my high school biology class. And if you want to define those as separate genders, there's a little bit of wiggle room there. But only that. There's only room for maybe 4 more. Not room for like 200 or however many there are. I have lost track. I don't care to know how many genders the left thinks there is. It doesn't make any sense. And usually I can at least see some part of their objective to, it's like in a lot of cases they can't define the difference between equity and equality. Or they want everybody to have, your average Democrat wants to have peace on earth. But no, there's no peace that will come from 200 plus genders. There's only more combativeness. Oh, we need to define what this gender can do. Rah, rah, rah. Oh, no. No. And before anybody opens their mouth, no. Creating new genders does not make sense. And the whole idea that there is more than the 2 basic genders and the 4 anomalies as far as genders go does not make sense to me either. I urge you, everybody who sees this video, to look into walking corpse syndrome. It is basically where somebody has a beating heart, draws breath, and by every sense of the term is alive. But they believe they are dead. We do not placate this person by making them dead. So it is what is called a dissociative disorder. Obviously, making them dead causes permanent harm. And you tell me, how does a transgender, how is that any different? Oh, there's a part of me, in this case my genitalia, that does not match what I think it should. We need to change it. It's kind of like saying the finger right here is a pinky and it's on my hand, but it is not my pinky. If I had said that to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, they would be starting treatments while at the same time probably have me in restraints so that way I don't try and chop my own finger off. It is a basic dissociative disorder. And I still am stunned that psychologists cannot say it. It's because they are afraid of the partisanship that comes with it. But because I do not have that burden, I can make my point quite clear. When it comes to transgenders, it is very little different than that of people with walking corpse syndrome. It is very different than that hypothetical scenario of where if I thought this finger right here was not part of my hand and therefore needed to be removed. It is little different than a woman that actually believed she was blind and demanded that people pour bleach in her eyes until she was. And they actually placated her as well. She was allowed to become blind. A doctor supervised this. Pull the guy's license. Put that son of a in front of the board. I mean, come on. That is unethical, plain and simple. And it is even more unethical to allow these people to mutilate themselves to try to be what they're not. In fact, there's quite a bit of evidence that supports that. Suicide rate amongst transgender people is still ridiculously high. Several times higher than that the rest of society. Because placating them does not alleviate their suffering. It only makes them realize that what they did not have the effect they desired. And because continuing to placate does not help, and they do not have the psychological tools to handle it, they end up deciding that the only way to end the suffering is to end it. So before anybody calls me anything, and I know I'm going to draw some fire for this one, before anybody dare to call me a transphobe or whatever, think about it this way, people. If these people were truly happy, wouldn't the suicide rate amongst them being lower than that of society, or at least equal to it? It is not. Their happiness does not increase. In fact, it gets worse. So instead of placating these transgender people, try to treat them. any other dissociative disorder, we would actually take the time to prevent them from harming themselves, and we would take the time to treat them. That is the way it works. Walking corpse syndrome is a perfect example. Look at how we treat that, and then compare that to how we treat a transgender. Woo, there is a world of difference there. And I personally find it unethical treating a transgender the way we do right now. If I was convinced I was a woman and had somebody take my genitalia and rearrange it, that is not fixing the problem. That is mutilation. That does not fix things. It makes it worse. Because now, in my mind, oh, I managed to arrange things the way I wanted them, and it's still not better. Okay, there must be a bigger problem. Maybe there... And then I can't express it. Bang. Think about that. It goes to the same problem. Why can't the left define what a woman is? It's the same reason that why must doctors treat transgenders in the way the transgender desires? And why must they treat a transgender differently than somebody with walking corpse syndrome? It is not right. And it is an overall assault on women. When it comes down to it, say up here at the local high school, girls basketball, transgender male to female joins the basketball team. And they've now got people looking to give scholarships out to the people on the girls' basketball team. But because the male to female is taller and has greater upper arm strength, they're able to make longer free throws, a lot more three-point throws, and they're basically able to outdo everybody because they're at least a foot taller. Who's going to get the scholarship? Not the others. Not the ones who were actually born girls, who can't do anything about it. So now you're saying that there's going to be even less girls in colleges, who are going to have less girls getting college degrees. And when that problem arises, there's going to be people that are going to call that misogynist. Yeah, well, yeah, you're right about that one. But instead of it being the more traditional misogyny, girls don't deserve to be educated, it is going to be because if you don't accept the transgender male to female as a woman, then it is your fault. Enough. This is bull. And I might even start calling these videos Lovell Calls Bull. It'll actually be a pretty good idea. Well, now that I've got that off my chest, this one is probably going to be my other video. And I'm not going to label it as a Lovell Halls Ask Why video. But I think in the future I might do this as a Lovell Halls Calls Bull. So that way I can have my nice little tirade every once in a while. I do deserve them, I think. Now, that being said, this has been Lovell Halls. Thank you for listening to me. I felt great getting that little bit off my chest there. And I hope you enjoyed that one.